Hi everyone, welcome to the Comic Bento April 2015 review session. We're going to be going over this month's books, which again, for those of you who've forgotten, the theme was mixtape. And you can see here we have actually a little bit of a meta thing going on. All of the books are different sizes, which I thought was kind of cool. A lot of different things here in this set, so we're going to go ahead and get started on the first one. Judge Dredd, Mega City Masters, Volume 3. That's a great cover, by the way. This is a reprinting of 25 different 2000 AD Prague's Judge Dredd magazines and annuals from all across the last 30 years of continuity. It's 176 pages. Cover price of, I don't know, because it's kind of hard to do the comparison between both British currency and U.S. currency, as well as factoring in that some of these were as early as like the early 1980s, like 83, 84, I think was the first one that was in here. So to get those today, I don't know how much it would cost you. A lot of the other things that I try and give you a comparison on the cover price for the individual issues versus the collection is based upon stuff that's come out fairly recently. This, a lot harder to do. So I'm going to say there's really no comparison. You're not going to be able to get these stories for the $19.99 cover price that this thing was. Just, it's not going to happen. Lots of different kinds of stories. All of them, obviously, Judge Dredd, which, if you're familiar with the character, there's a lot of, dystopian future, crime situations. Several stories that were in here were ones that were the color stuff, so it's heavier towards the later era of the character, not as much early stuff, which was primarily in black and white. The overall arc of it, though, was pretty good. There's a lot of... They've claimed it being artist-centric, but given that Judge Dredd is very much a handful of people who've written most of his stories, there's more artists who've worked on the character than there are writers who've worked on the characters. Standout tales, though, for this: Safe Hands by Gordon Rennie and Jock, Turkey Shoot by John Wagner, Cam Kennedy and Henry Flint, and Sturm und Drang by Gordon Rennie and Carlos Ezguerra. All of them were in the later section of it. I really thought it was cool to see some of Ezguerra's later work. I'm more familiar with some of his earlier stuff. Again, over here in the corner here, you see some of the Judge Dredd complete collections. So I'm really familiar with a lot of his older stuff, more so than later. He hasn't missed a beat. His art has been very consistent from the beginning of the Judge Dredd stuff through the later stuff that's in here. It was cool to see other artists that I was more familiar with, like Jock. I've read a lot of stuff that he's done. His takes were very good. So overall, this was just an excellent read. This was not rated. There was some mature content, but if you're familiar with Judge Dredd, you know what you're kind of getting into. Violence is fairly over the top, a lot of dark humor. Again, Judge Dredd, Mega City Masters, Volume 3. I'm going to give this one an 8.0. I loved the overall work. Prefer collections that are more consistent with issue-by-issue things. I'm going to keep it for the time being, at least for the next 10 or 15 years before the complete collections finally catch up to it. So, moving on to the next volume, we have Afterworks, Volume 1. I wasn't familiar with what this was initially. This is all animators who've worked on stuff from DreamWorks and Pixar. Overall, it's not rated, by the way. Overall, not that many stories that I was really into. Standout was only Sudden, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, cholecystis by Max Brace, also known as Sudden Gallbladder Surgery. It's 152 pages overall, $17.99 cover price. Given that there was really only one standout story, I'm not really going to give this a terribly high rating. Nothing was bad, just nothing really hit me the way that first story did. Throughout, it is black and white. As you can see here, I'm going to give you kind of just a flip through. There was a little bit of art that I really kind of dug. There was some Mignola stuff in here. I liked that, but overall, that story just didn't kind of hit me the same way some of the other stuff did. There is a Volume 2 on this. I don't think I'm going to bother picking that up. Same time, I don't think I'm going to toss this in the sell pile because it was a fairly decent read. It just didn't strike me as being something that I wanted to continue beyond this volume specifically. Third in the box is the hardcover Dark Horse Book of Monsters. It's also not rated. There are some mature themes in here. And standout stories: A Dog and His Boy by Evan Dorkin, Sarah Dyer, and Jill Thompson, and Hydra and the Lion by Mike Mignola. This is all original graphic novel, much like the Afterworks thing, so there's no issues to cover with it. It's 96 pages, $15.95. I really dug this one a lot. Going to give it a 7.5. There are 3 other books in this series: the Dark Horse Book of Hauntings, the Dark Horse Book of the Dead, and the Dark Horse Book of Witches. I think I'm going to track those down because overall I really dug this. I like the format, I like the size. It was kind of like a neat digest size read. This was the most expensive of the 4 volumes. It was the last one that they did. So I thought that it would be a really good thing to have as the full set. I'm going to track those down. Definitely worthwhile, worth picking up. Last one in the book, the smallest, and I gotta say, this was the best of the month. 4 Letter Worlds. It's also, again, not rated. This has several stories, lots of them. You can see here they have a love, hate, fear, and fate, kind of a play on 4-letter words. All of them are 4-letter words, and the themes that they have 4 stories in each section, so a collection of 16 stories. By far, this had the most different kinds of stories in any of them, and I really liked how they had a variety of styles. There was, a lot of anthology here in this one. Standouts, it was really kind of hard to pick just a few, but I couldn't narrow it any further than 4. Standouts were Anew by China Clugson, Hype by Anthony Johnson, who you might remember wrote The Cold City that I gave a 10 last month on the Cloak and Dagger stuff, and Mike Hawthorne did the art on that. Bear by Jeff Parker, and Fell by Steve Leiber. I love Steve Leiber's stuff. It works beautifully in black and white, which this was an entirely black and white piece. Again, it's an original graphic novel, so there's no issues to compare it to. 144 pages, $12.95 cover price. I give this an 8.5. This is definitely worth buying, definitely worth hanging on to. It's got a lot of different kinds of stuff in there, so I definitely recommend that everybody check it out. Overall for the month, we've got a total of $67 worth of trade cover price on this. So for your monthly Comic Bento price, this was an excellent month. Again, nothing really struck me as being toss-worthy, so you can't go wrong when 4 out of 4 are ones that are worth keeping. So I definitely recommend, if you haven't picked up any of these already, definitely check them out. Good reads all around. Next month's Comic Bento, which the cutoff date was yesterday actually, so next month's Comic Bento is cinematic, so we'll see what's in that one. And again, if you liked the video, please hit the like button and comment section if you have any. Thanks.